Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of jump in here. This is kind of ongoing with our what we've been looking at with Revelation 17 and the Harlot Babylon, and the way that things have been kind of playing out lately, which has felt very much on end times. We've always, most scholars have said all of the signs of the times that indicate it's the generation that the Lord returns to. It's the Antichrist generation. The rapture stuff, the timing is like kind of off on that. Obviously, that was kind of wishful thinking. But there's so much that Scripture has to say about all of what's happening now, and there's just not enough people putting the threads together. So that's just like what is sort of dominated at the times is like everybody's kind of like finding their way. I'll say it that way, and there's pieces like being put together. So I realize that part of the behaviors that I've been subjected to, I'm finding more and more. It's not just that I don't know, me. They just don't like me. But it's might be part of this calling to work out some of the stuff and talk about it. So it's a little out there, but it's all scripturally sound. So we're talking about things that are in the scripture that are not clear. There's some mysteries where the word mystery is used by Apostle Paul. They're talking by John, and so it's not necessarily that they're entirely extra biblical, but it's that there's an element of the kind of like the seven thunders. They're sealed up. It's for us. It's for this generation that walks through it that will get the revelation. So it's not even that you take what I'm saying and run with it either. But like this would be confirming for certain people, or it might fill in some puzzle pieces for what you've already get there. Until we get more revelation. And it's just we want to love truth, right? Because this is still the Matrix, right? Even if this like plays out exactly, we're still in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And our Christ is the only way to the tree of life, and we want Him to return. We want the Christ, not the Antichrist, right? And that seems obvious, but the first one will say that He is the Christ. He will say the Antichrist will come first, and He will. It's all very clear. We're not going to do the complete apologetic. So skip ahead 2 minutes if you want to. If you already know the recap, I'm going to do here as a way of introduction. But those of us who have found ourselves in this sort of chosen one is the hashtag for a lot of these that are experiencing sort of the same situations, to find yourself surrounded in we'll say a Joseph dungeon situation. And so with these kind of things, at this point, I'm going to not talk about my own situation. I'm going to go to this sort of like broader narrative that's I've heard a few people that have had this kind of experience, and it's knit to what's sort of happening here, what this actual harlot is. Okay, so we know that Jezebel is really prominently featured here, and the Jezebel spirit is knit to seduction, and it's kind of funny because there's the spirit of Jezebel that's on the body of the Christ, right, and then there's a local situation that's in, like, it was a church that John wrote to when he was writing the book of Revelation by the spirit of prophecy, that Jesus is saying these are the things that are going on here. But it's in the book of Revelation because it's like a prophetic message that by the Spirit, possibly for your situation, possibly for the broader, certain continents, different areas, there's this, that spirit of Jezebel is part of this. It's like you could call it a global network in a sense. People call it the Roman Catholic Church, the Catholic Church at various times. I'm gonna be a little element of that, but like so many Bible scholars are so impatient that just like no one's looking at it right now, and they should be, because they just they all just kind of, the boomers and earlier they were just like, yeah, it's the Catholic Church, and then we're done with it. And then they've just been riding that out, and no one wants to like make waves and say, hey, I don't know what's that actually. And so it really needs to be drunk with the blood of the saints to fulfill it. And all churches take communion, and it's grape juice or wine or something. It's not the actual blood, but in the Spirit, it is the blood of Christ, right? That is the witchiest thing that Jesus does, right? But again, Jesus does this. But that like Satanism and all the Coventry, coven type stuff all these secret societies, all the ones that are associated with a lot of this stuff that have these higher elements that are more secret, or to be honest, I mean, there's massive organizations that all have this little component. It's all Luciferianism in a sense, but it's all just different versions of doctrine, just like Christianity has all these different Presbyterian, Baptist, or whatever, different associations, but it's all sort of it's controlled opposite. It's controlled forces that are in opposition to that are all of this stuff is. I'm gonna pause right there, because if you're like American, you're so wired to not even understand anything spiritual, or you only pick and choose the spiritual things you do. But it really is like you need to believe with your whole heart, right? Because that's why they don't have miracles in America as much as like other places. They're not really taught to not believe the way that we're just so, because this is like the ground zero in a sense for a lot of the Babylon stuff. The spirit of Babylon, spirit of the Tower of Babel, a network meant to bring people into getting demonic information to be God. Second heavens, where the demonic or whatever, third heavens is angelic, in the, where the Lord kind of would be. And so, but we're all in the five dimension, element. We're a being up there first, and things happen there first, and then the matrix of this 3D kind of, we're in it. We have a consciousness, and we're hopefully interfacing with our higher self, and or the Holy Spirit, even more, more so. All of these things, but up there is Paul Keith Davis has written about the book of deeds, things that the Christians will do, and then you have one if you're the saved and your name's in the book of life and all that. You're going to live for 1 billion years on the good side, in the happy heavenly side, versus the other one, like the fire side. But not too late to switch sides yet. But it could be soon. So don't rush that. I'm not going to rush that. Point is, all this stuff that's associated with this Harlot Babylon network, it really is it's a financial thing, but it's a spiritual thing. In a sense, it's kind of like Joseph, because it's, Christians, just like the Israelites, the Gentiles were sort of grafted into this thing, and we were meant to provoke Israel to jealousy, Romans 11, by the power of God in our lives, our manifestation power, by the financially, or it's a manifestation of the Christian concept, by our breaking our generational curses and entering into our promised land. We co-labor and co-create with Spirit, and then these things just, we're a vessel for Him and for His work. But the counterfeit of all that, and you wonder why, like, hey, I don't know how many Christians are really. We kind of just make fun of them. That's not a real thing. And part of that is this, in the spirit, like what Christians are pretty heavily targeted, and of course, God knows the end before before He starts anything. Like, He's outside of time, and the devil, psychics, and they prophesy stuff like that too. Spiritual gifts are for all. If you read, it's like many places in the Bible in that. But so he can, devil knows who's who, and that same books and that information. So that's kind of who he goes after. Especially the firstborn, which is like the double portion of the inheritance, all that, Jacob and Esau. Well, there's a whole thing where it's like, I'm trying to say this short and fast. So and we have access to our inheritance by the blood of the Lamb, right? It was they would in the Jewish temple, right, which is what the Antichrist will want to reestablish and then say that he's got it. Anyway, in the Jewish temple, though, they would have the sacrifice of the Lamb. And then Jesus became the Lamb, and we don't have sacrifice anymore by accepting him into our hearts, and he becomes the Lamb. And it's, there's a whole spiritual thing that we can do where just by, it's not the American way where he did it all, we don't have to. It's still engaging with him, still like radical obedience to him, but we have entry. It's a massive thing. It's just we get weird with it. Anyway, so Satanism, Luciferianism, if they say it's not this, they're lying to you, because they don't. None of them like to admit this or whatever, and some of it's illegal, whatever. But all that's into the OTO, all the curly stuff or whatever, is trying to find a way to get to the tree of life without the Lamb, get the prosperity, all of that. And so, at the higher levels of some of this stuff, we're talking about like blood rituals, right? Trying to, not to go back, we're talking about the Chosen One stuff and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all that. That has a lot of, tons of movies too. We've got the list on our channel there. But there's so many things that are prophetic symbols in movies and film and television and whatever that the Spirit is anointing and speaking through, because that's the only way to reach us right next door in our Bibles like we used to be. But I mean, as a culture. Anyway, Exodus 24, he talks about, covenant blood rituals and ceremony, that kind of stuff, with animals and that kind of thing. But the biggest element and the highest stuff, or whatever, the stuff in the demonic, because it's led mostly, it's like, conspiracy theories are kind of weird because these people aren't necessarily coordinating on this level, though sometimes in the secret societies they are. And the Babylon is a secret society. The Illuminati stuff or whatever people think is like all the rappers and the pop stars do or whatever. I mean, it's different element. Some of it's in psychology, some of it's in this. It's principalities that are orchestrating this stuff. Demons have various levels of intelligence or whatever. Asking the deliverance minister, that kind of stuff. It's not just a horror movie thing or whatever. But anyway, the point is that trying to find another way into what God does, because all you need to know about Satan is he wants to be God. He wants to trick everybody into thinking not that he doesn't exist, but that he is God. Now, I guess there was a big period of time where he was trying to convince everybody he didn't exist, but we're definitely in this era, past 4 years, 6 years for some, definitely this past year, where the veil is kind of, it very much looks like a matrix, and that's for a reason, because things, this harlot is becoming more and more drunk with the blood of the saints, and that drunk on the blood of saints is kind of like careless, thinking that she's bringing more and more people into it, making mistakes, thinking that there's just just reckless, so used to winning and getting away with this, that now she didn't realize how sloppy some of the stuff really was, kind of thing. This movement, I mean, pretty strategic and that kind of thing, but Satan's in a rage. He knows his time is short, and so there's an acceleration. And so he knows the next thing that's coming is the Antichrist. The Antichrist will actually destroy the Harlot Babylon, right? But he will then say that he's Christ, he's God. And this is less, First John talks about that being a spirit, right? Which is interesting. Side note, because we're talking about the chosen one, the sons of God. There are divine beings, sons of God, Romans 8, that creation is yearning for and has been trying for. Well, not only are some of us in what you would call, the matrix, or, the gang stalking, the signed handlers and monitoring spirits, all that kind of stuff, whatever, that world, but there are even others who are are associated with like cultic people, things like that. I know someone a couple states away that's they don't know that they're a divine being, right? And that's this high priestess, Queen of Wands here, right? And it's interesting, this high priestess card, because this is in a lot of these secret societies, or in not so secret, what is it? Some of the LDS and some of the other ones too, that understand the end of the age is about the book of Hebrews. And that's another one that's kind of like, that probably helped you a little bit throughout previously, but now it's real helpful. That this is when Jesus said his house will be called a house of prayer. We're talking about building the shows in one house of prayer, that kind of thing. And we're not going to call it that. Zehab or something, Zadok house of prayer. We'll figure it out. But it's there's a spiritual network that we're looking to build, where it's kind of like it is intercession, right? Because so many of us can't have all these spiritual gifts and can see into these events in real time and all that. And it isn't just like, isn't that cool, or telling people, or not necessarily telepathy, telling them, don't go here, don't go there, whatever. Channeling into our collectives, all that kind of thing, like we're doing now. But intercession, it's getting to a place of friendship with Jesus, because it's the manifest sons of God, the chosen ones. Romans 8, read the chapter. We can do what angels can't do. In fact, we'll be part of these things where we'll actually judge angels. Paul said that. Paul said that. And so, that was always the best. If he could get a divine being, a manifest son of God, to work on the Luciferian side, to be in this order. And it really is that question. And maybe some of you had to answer that question of like, will you do the Aleister Crowley thing, or whatever, it's like Ozzy, Zeppelin, like all of these. Yeah, there's so many musicians who are just kind of a little bit Blood Sugar Sex Magic and Chili Peppers. But man, there's so many little secrets in Californication, and Bowie had a little period there, Station to Station and all that. he was seeing that there was people that, he was a little psychosis there, but he was feeling like there was this group of witches that were trying to make the Antichrist happen, because they knew that their time was out, and so they were trying to like find a star seed, a divine being, a manifest son of God. Somebody would have the inspiration, the creativity, and manifestation of power by which they could sort of repower their cults, or maybe even birth. So it's, I don't know, because there's the blood rituals where they do the intentional miscarriages, especially if it can be a Christian seed or whatever, like someone has the bloodline, which could be even a generational curse breaker, right, which is the highest. But Satan wants to, he will reward people, and he'll betray them, and he'll seem to reward them as long as they're useful, and even not. He's a trickster, he's a liar, but for this kind of stuff or whatever, for hurting God, or he wants to steal or kill or destroy, the Bible says, the things of God. And so that's a kind of blood sacrifice, but it's like a mock ritual of these things. I mean, all this stuff is just a mockery. It's a twisted version, right? God says do it this way, he says do it that way. And so if you've been doing our things to take back your vessel, you take all your power back, you cut the soul ties, you become fully, everybody else that was in your energy, all that kind of stuff, all the new agey stuff like that, but you really do it, and then you are real careful about who you let into your sphere, into, start to realize how much power and authority you really have. Start walking some of this stuff, and he starts to trust you with more and more things like this. So, but it's and you can't get into fear, because, like, again, you control the matrix. This is your. There's a reason that an entire massive society is going after little Christians. So it's intense. So we've got this high priestess card here, and for all these different orders, the Safarians, all these things like that, they're looking for these two to fulfill the prophecy, that kind of thing, to bring one over to the other side. And so we have these two that we were just kind of indicating how this is playing out, and I think it's for somebody in our collective here. And on this one side, they were not successful. They did get a child, who is the star here, right? And or maybe two of them. It's kind of hard. And then, they want the male child or whatever. And there's the other ones that they sacrifice, and I'm not going to ever leave them out, but they'll, and we'll see them on the other side. Like, whoever this is like, I just want you to know that, like, we can grieve them more, but also, like, the spirit babies are alive there. So, but this, we've got this force towards this person that's kind of this awakening, hopefully, that they are this high priestess, and that they are, and you can know, because they are just kind of like Leo, like Queen of Wands energy here. If that's your person, or you, or that kind of thing. But it is the soul ties and these kind of things, and the way that they think this stuff works when they attempt to either get the energy, and so I'm just going to read straight off of Wikipedia here, which talks about these cults, or whatever they want to call them, these religious groups, secret societies, and they have ties to Illuminati. Illuminati is like, it's so funny, because it's just like you say something spiritual, and if you're American, your brain goes, not real, because that's just how you've been trained. Illuminati, conspiracy theory. You know what I mean? It's just like, they've put such a stink on it, that it's just like, can you talk about it? Because no one wants to take you seriously. And that's one of the greatest tricks the devil ever pulled. Isn't making people think it didn't exist. Isn't, in part of what I said earlier, he wants you to think that he's God, and he's got these people bought in to this stuff. And, it's just, all they would have to do is just give themselves to Jesus here. These manifestations, their spell work, or all this stuff that they're thinking they're doing. Some of them do have real power, whatever, but it's waning, and this stuff is being, like, literally this entire society, like, there's, the Antichrist is going to shut that down, and so, now, be careful though, because he's going to flip right around and he's going to say, worship me or take the mark of the beast. You know, he's going to go to Israel, make a ton, like he wants, like, you have to understand. Because everybody's like so American focused on everything because we think the world revolves around us or something. It's bizarre. But Israel is like the heart and soul of God's plans. That's Jacob, right? And we are the Esau. That's like, you know, in a sense. I mean, it's almost like they're the Esau and we're the Jacob that's like stealing the blessing. That's the better way to say it. We call it Jacob's trouble in a sense, but spiritually what happened was, you know, they've rejected the Messiah and we jumped in and got the inheritance and we're supposed to make them jealous. But then the devil came in and through these kind of the network of these things by going after all of these star seeds and divine beings, and I mean it's just, you know, mostly it's Christians, but that's these people have either they have gifts, they're born with gifts, they're mantles that have been passed down through generations. Some people don't enter them into, they don't break the curses, and then it's really hard to break the curses without the blood of Jesus. But I digress. You know, it's his imputed righteousness that we walk out by having a good understanding of grace, and that's why the grace teachings were so important to get there. But you know, there was a concentrated effort to try to keep them away from church and even or into the church that wasn't, you know, believing in the right stuff or whatever. And now it's almost just like they've shut the eyes of the seers into the world of pornography. They've shut the eyes of the mouths of the prophets because they're listening to the wrong messages or whatever. But there's just like the veil has been lifted to see on the other side of things, to see how the devils again was mostly operating with illusions, and that's the matrix. There's, I don't know, all these, you know, so many chosen ones they're just dreaming of this better matrix that forever, you know, what, like 20, 30 more years, and then, you know, they'll be with the Lord. They could have used that. I mean, because that's the real test, is, you know, how you spend the money or whatever. But that manifestation power that you're now taking back in and entering in, because that is, by the way, how you get that inheritance. Like it's like in a sense, I mean, you're sort of sowing into things, and you're co-creating spirit, and it's intercession now. And again, the seers and the prophets, the chosen one that are waking up, you're going to awaken to, oh, so I'm seeing these things. I'm beginning to know the creator of the universe. I'm beginning to fall in love with this person who is the person of Jesus. And we've been highlighting that the bridegroom message is also kind of a mystery, Ephesians 5, that is mostly for this time, as we take on the bridal identity. And that's like Esther kind of taking that position of like having half of the kingdom power of the king, you know, Jesus. And so it's this beautiful thing where Jesus laid his life down for us, the Father sacrificed his Son for us, and we live our life, not my will but yours, for him, fueled by his love. And that is a massive non-negotiable point. So feeding our heart on his love, Song of Solomon, John 14 through 17, John 5, 39, 40. I mean, you got to start right there, and you got to build your life on that. But that's another message. I'm just saying that's what's happening. But that's how, via that bridal intercession of taking your position and the Spirit getting up there to that throne. I mean, Paul's like, you guys are fighting over all this stuff. Who bewitched you? Like, it's, you know, do you not know that you're going to judge angels? Like, get up in the 5D and understand how, like, you're arguing with people that can't even really see you up there. But that's the 3D. He wants you locked in, you know. He's just trying to blind your eyes with this stuff. So, yeah, praying in tongues goes a long way. You get someone who has that gift to pray with you can impart it if you don't already got it. But, yeah, we're going to be praying for some outpouring of the Spirit. So there's going to be some big revival, but there's going to be a lot of people locked into taking this mark of the beast, and that is a literal sell your soul can't get back. A lot of them ones, but most of them you can get. Like, it's nothing you can do that. Like, I mean, again, Saul was murdering Christians, and he meets Jesus and is forgiven and writes half the Bible. But he changed his name to Paul. So here we are. It's you know, the blood of souls. Yeah, and I mean, that is part of the judgment and the destruction on the land. Is God has had thoughts about all the blood of the babies, of all the saints that have been killed, that kind of thing. And so part of the reason there's such a grace on your life and such a care about this is that you're doing this. You're the voice of the voiceless. It's for all those who didn't even get a chance to enter into this. You've made it this far. You know, you can't stop now. And for all those who, yeah, this is your destiny kind of thing. I mean, you're going to be a big deal on the other side in heaven. I mean, you kind of are now. For those who are walking into this. So it's a time to like go in deep and understand, Book of Revelation, all this stuff. We're going to do more studies as we're able to on this channel, to open up some of these kind of things. But let's see more about this star. I just flew out there. Yeah. We have the Ace of Cups. I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to plug into the Bible translator. I have an idea, but yeah, this is that creativity that's birthed off from this love energy that I'm talking about. It's divine partnership and creativity. It's a new relationship. That's where it's what they're called to do, right? That's this movement. It's new revolution. I mean, if you look at like, it's musical revolutions. You talk about there's portals. I mean, that's what. I mean, I was going to Nine Inch Nails, right? They were so into like they know there's portals around Laurel Canyon in the late '60s or whatever, and the CIA and all that stuff, and. You read about some of that stuff. I've written enough about that already to make this case, But some of the same people I was mentioning earlier were associated with this in different ways. But what they're looking to do, is to tap into sort of divine creativity, just a counterfeit way into the kingdom without anything but Jesus. What the spirit of Babylon has wanted, right? Jezebel is compromise and mixture, and not anything but the pure devotion to Christ. But we haven't really seen a revolution of inspired songs, But the 144,000, which will be in Israel, but don't be like sad if you're not one of them, because I mean that's we still have they're meant to call us to be like them, right? They have a song that only they can sing. That's a little elite, whatever. But we're kind of the chosen one too. There's a lot more chosen one than 144,000, but they are the first fruits of those there. And I mean, there could be I said they're Jewish, but there's an element on different timelines where it can be, there's a grafting in, because things have gotten a little sideways here, because there's some trickery that the devil's done. Many spiritual laws have been broken. Let the record show. But even though, just, I'm not called, and then like go the wrong way or something, like, whatever you're walking full of stuff, and then you're going to be right up there with them, because many is called, much has been given, much is required. It's whatever you're doing, to the degree that you can do it. Whenever you wake up, just do that. If you make a mistake, push delete and get back up, keep going. So, but you have to relearn a lot of things. I've had to relearn a lot of things, or apply things that were dormant into a new context. But Jesus said that, like, if you can't like, just, become as a baby and start over and enter into the kingdom, then it's not pretty. You won't enter in. And every day you have a choice to enter in a sense. So, yeah, so we're going to get a little more understanding then on this other side here, because this is just like, I got a little picture of like a local expression that has a broader expression for many situations and many groups and families. And we're hearing all these like mirrored situations, like, oh, mine was just like this, mine was just like this, or whatever, as we're entering this time. And I mean, it's no joke. I'm gonna talk about it every time, just that if there really is follow through on a revived it, or I don't even call it revived. I mean, because like he's talking about like the horrific element of ethnic cleansing. Like I'm not, yes, let's stop there in a moment of silence for that. But like, if what that is tipping the hat, winking at, and it could just be a future thing. I mean, because I've different timelines, it happens different ways, but it kind of like, where there is a rebuilt temple there in Israel, and then the 10-nation coalition or whatever. But again, this is not to, I mean, it's either going to be really glorious because people are martyr themselves and overcome by not, refusing to take the mark, refusing to their lives, or it's going to be, all the amazing signs and wonders that people do as they're, if you read the book Exodus, how they, did all these miracles, and they try to kill him, and evasive, that's a real matrix in a sense, dodging the bullet, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's an entire sea was parted, right? Think about that. So, and Jesus did some stuff. He said, we're going to do greater works. So, but it's time to know his word. So, we have the wheel. I didn't ask for the card to what I was thinking. I thought it, but I didn't say it. So I think this is still along with the yeah, it might be some challenging times, but it's a period of good fortune, right? Well, they're just saying like it's going to be like glorious one way or the other. It might be challenging, or it might be like wildly, miraculous. It might be the glory of overcoming by the honor of martyrdom in a way that, I mean, like Peter, he was martyred, and he considered it such an honor before the Lord. And it's like it lasts however long it lasts. A lot of times it's just a moment, and then you're either reborn in another timeline, or you're, with the Lord, entering into your reward, and about to get your resurrected body, and finding out. It's not, if you're gonna care the life you live a little bit. I mean, if you get saved at the end, you only count it. We're only really talking about this part at the end. But again, much is given, much is required. Little is given, little is required. It's so you're graded on a curve. I mean, it will be intense, but it's all about knowing Him, because people will think they're saved and they don't know Him, and they don't talk to Him, and they haven't given their life over to Him. But we're all doing the most we can here. But it matters. You can't manipulate them when you get up there. People have tried. Okay, so, but yeah, the question I was going to ask, but it's a cool little confirmation there with the wheel in reverse of backing up exactly what I was saying. But no, let's get some more on this Queen of Wands, in case that's that person, where are they at right now? Okay. Yeah, so I was thinking that Sandra Bullock on this one or whatever. Again, kind of talking about what we're just saying. You need to make a decision before it's too late. Yeah. So that's given. Seek the Lord while He may be found. For surely in a flood of many waters you will not find Him. And it's also Matthew 25. The foolish ones are like, "Oh, quick, look busy. Jesus is coming," or whatever. Give me some of your salvation. Let me wear your mantle. Or I'm saved. Look, right? But it's like, it's the oil of knowing Him and talking to Him and interceding and learning to let Him love you. So, and then by doing that, you can have the ability to love others. And that's because it's not everything's like, we just got to do some shadow work, or you just got to learn to love yourself, or be vulnerable, all these things. Like, you need to have the love of God then you have something to love others with. There'll be a flood, the living waters will flow out of you. Then you have energy that's a whole other level that the vampires will want to take. But so you want to have, because two popped out for that. So we got the Two of Swords and the Page of Swords, which is this like, you got to make a decision now. Give your life, Jesus, I give you my life, I'm yours. It's longer I here live, but it's you who live within me. Tell me what to do, and He's going to do it through. And then so you have to keep saying yes, and there's you have to grit your teeth and like pull through things sometimes like that. But just like Jesus, take the wheel. But the Page of Swords is also just like, you got to get this thirst for knowledge. But then that's how it starts. It's like, Lord, help me want this. Help me to not find this as boring. Because you keep on saying, Lord, make this interesting. Show me. Spirit of revelation, spirit of revelation, spirit of wisdom, spirit of wisdom. All the other spirits, all the other gifts. Read these stories and be like, and put your name there and say, I want that. Like, he did that. That was cool. I want that supernatural ability, discerning of spirits. You know what I mean? But the living word, the written word takes you to the living word by prayer and conversation. So as you get that abundance of energy, you gotta take your power back too, and break them generational curses, get everybody out of your energy. And He already broke it. He already did it. You just gotta let Him do it through you. It's imputed. It's like having the cheat notes, the crib notes. It's like written on the inside your eyelid or something. I mean, it's like he starts to write His word on your heart, like Moses did. That Charles Haynes has this, like the Great Commandment thing, the 10 Commandments in the movie. You start to build your life on, the life of Jesus, it's as you get time, as it knits back to, the Old Testament and the way He fulfills things, and we're doing these things that He did in the greater context of all these things. But it really is all just about a curse and two trees and Adam and Eve and the temptation and how Jesus went back to the stone, right? Had to get the Taylor in there and turned it around and made it, wow. tell me. Yeah, so he broke the curse, and that's what they were looking him to do in this first coming in Israel, is break that curse, and that's the Messiah, as a curse breaker. It's not necessarily divinity, God, but he was that too, and he's about to show us, when he comes back in the flame of fire to destroy the Antichrist. Every eye will see, but yeah, there's two comings, and so, but he was emphasizing his brokenness and his humanity. God became a man; he took on flesh, and so we are the sons of God, which is different than being fully divine. He's the fully God, fully man, right? Real importantly, in that point, he's the only one found worthy to open up the seal in the Book of Revelation, and so that is how these people are being rescued here. But we've got to tear down the spirit of Jezebel. That's seducing people. All this stuff. I mean, it's because they want to steal your power, the manifestation power. They want to manifest that off these kings. They see, and in a sense, the Jezebel spirit sees all men as kings. But like it could be on men and women. It's not necessarily a gender thing or whatever. But what it wants to do is like those people who have a strong mental manifestation, connection to source, or light workers, those kind of things. What it wants to do is plan that. It really wants to there's something in covenant, even if it can have a marriage ceremony, you can elope, or you can just two become one flesh, whatever it is, and there's a spiritual contract that can happen sometimes in the 3D, and so it's just like they're trying to manifest off of that. No, but you can take your power back and that kind of thing, but there's still, it's spiritual law involved. I'm not going to do the whole legislation right now, but so that's a big place of Esau inheritance, losing that. And we've made that point. We don't have to make it every time. I want to make it every time, but I'm just like, people need to know. Like this is like, it's hard to land. But like, because the witches know the spiritual laws. The Christians that just like soulless to obscure their way into oblivion here. But it's all for divine time. It's all divine wisdom. Like I just see the person that like needs to know this. I'm just like, you gotta watch the other videos. I can't teach it all again. So we'll hang it up there, and go through some other things. I'm here a little bit there, but we're definitely praying for both of these that we saw here, and that this divine being wakes up to their calling.